So this year, Checkpoint turns 12. We're actually a year younger than the EFF. So what we've decided to do is between now and our birthday in April, we are going to be having deep discussions about issues that we've covered on the show that don't seem to be changing. Actually, some of these are getting worse. And one of those issues is contained in this book. And that's why we have Dr Mzamo Masito with us to launch this Checkpoint podcast called What is the Real Problem?
I want people to think, do, and feel differently about boys and men. And I want us to have a fresh dialogue about gender equality not being a zero-sum game. And I want it to be that gender empathy should not be a zero-sum game. I want us to be able to hold multiple truths at once, that you can empower girls while not neglecting boys. And you can do both. And it doesn't have to be either or. But for some reason, we live in a society that is highly dialectically immature. I don't know, it's because of cancel culture or anything else, that you cannot hold multiple truths. You cannot have two truths. Like, for example, my stepfather was an abusive husband, but he was a great father to me. And those are two truths. And they are both true. Just the same as I can say to you that girl empowerment needs to continue to happen. Yet, we also need to make sure boys are not left behind, because boys are falling behind. And in this society, somehow, if you say those two truths, you have to pick one. And it's not end. It's either or.
Some people would argue, Mzamo, that you boys blame your bad behavior on being left behind or being neglected or abandonment by your fathers. How would you respond to that?
It's partly true. So it might not be the only reason why we are being left behind. It is like someone saying the reason society is bad is because of patriarchy. That's like ultimate reductionist in monism or parsimony, where you take one word and you ascribe it to everything to explain the complexities of men. It's impossible that you can ascribe one variable to everything that has to do with men. It's actually very reductionist. And sometimes I'll call it lazy thinking. And it's so, even in this one, is it true that sometimes we say that it's because our fathers left us, abandoned us? Yes, but it is not the only reason.
It's part of the reason.
It's part of the reason.
What I absolutely loved about this book is that I disagreed with you strongly on many things.
Yes.
And because I hate echo chambers, I was challenged by this book, because I continued to read while I was, upset. You were provoking me on so many levels. But what you did force me to do is have debates with myself and ask myself simple questions that I haven't asked myself before. Do I hate men? And this provoked me the most. Is the men and scratching out throughout the book. You do that throughout the book. And then you write boys. Because I have a son. I adore my son. But do I adore men? And I decided that I don't hate men, but I'm afraid of them. I'm afraid of men, and probably because of the kind of work that I do, they are in the majority of the inflictors of pain on other people. Both men and women. Yes. And you go into that in the book. Just expand.
I'm glad that you used the word, I don't hate men, but I'm afraid of men. Because the first part that people forget, no man is born a man. We are all born boys who become men. And we forget that head boys become head men. Hence that, because I feel like society forgets that you can't...
We detach
men and boys as if some people are just born with full-blown testosterone and they're already ready for work or ready for anything, which is not true. And then the other part for me is that I'm glad you used the word afraid. And by the way, men are also afraid of men. And that's the part that society doesn't also understand, that if we look at homicide stats or violent deaths, 88% to 90% of homicides or violent death in this country are men.
Men on men violence.
93% of violent deaths are inflicted by men to other men, women, and children. So when we talk about homicide in this country, it's actually femicide, androcide, which is masculicide, men, and then we talk about children, whether it be filicide or pesticide, where parents kill their own kids or adults kill kids. But these are the three. But somehow, what men feel sometimes when we say femicide is a national crisis, but we forget that if there's 100 people who die from homicide, 90 are men. And 10 are women. Why are we not saying the country's problem is violence? The national crisis is violence. Men and women are dying, killed. Majority of the people who kill are men. That's a good thing to say. And then we can unite as men and women against a national crisis, which is violence, which is killing men, women, and children. But when we start saying the national crisis on violence or violent deaths, which is homicide, is only women, we exclude the 90 that also died. And we create divisions between ourselves. It becomes us and them. Now we're not united. We are divided in a cause that we should be united in, because it's killing us both. The toxic parts of masculinity are not only toxic to women and girls, they are toxic to men and boys. So, an absent father is as dangerous as a present violent father at home. But absent to boys is even more dangerous to boys, that they don't have a father figure at home to teach them how it's like to move from boy to man. So I'm glad you used the word afraid rather than hate.
We'll go into your personal story as well. And I think obviously sparked, the thoughts and the genesis of this book. Yeah. I just want to read a little extract from the back. You list lessons of masculinity based on your own personal experience. And I just want to read this a little bit to give people a sense of what is contained in here. My first lesson about men was that they just don't care about raising kids. After all, I had few examples of caring, responsible men in my street. By the age of 6, my desire to get to know my father had been completely extinguished. I had made a vow to myself I would never turn out like him. And so I did everything in my power to eradicate him. If I could have, I would have cleansed myself of his genes so that only my mother's genetic material was left in my DNA. It sounds silly now, but back then, my emotional experience of men showed me that they are absent, and being absent is okay.
Definitely.
That's sad. And you asked your father why he was absent. Tell us about that story.
So when I found my father, one of the things I did was to ask him when he was not sober, because he wouldn't speak. He was a man's man, like a rural man who men don't show emotions, don't show feelings, cannot be vulnerable, because then it means you're weak. And then I asked him and I said, why didn't you raise me? Because I was really looking for if he will ever say sorry. And if
you wanted him to say sorry.
Yes, because I felt he wounded me. He hurt me. He abandoned me. And now here I am taking care of someone who abandoned me. And I'm doing it out of duty as a son, but I'm also angry. And I'm also hurt. And instead, he just said, I should be grateful that he didn't raise me. And he then said, look, you've turned out fine without me. But he showed no remorse.
I found that interesting, that you were dissatisfied with his response.
Yes.
Was it because it showed no remorse, or because you wanted him to say something different? Because you did turn out well. You have a PhD, you've worked for some of the most powerful companies in the world, right? You turned out quite well.
My exteriority, I turned out well. my interiority continues to bleed. So we're walking with interiorities that are not whole, but we mask them with amazing badges of success and excellence and status. So you can call me a doctor. You can say the guy was a CMO. So I have exterior badges that create an illusion of a whole person or whole man, which I'm not. So that's the key thing is I thought hearing him say, I'm sorry I didn't raise you and I'm sorry I abandoned you, I don't know why, but in my mind, I felt like it would be the greatest medicine I needed to heal in my interiority, not just now my exteriority, which looks fine to the public. Even to me, it looks fine.
And did you never entertain the possibility that he could have damaged you?
Yes, which he did.
His presence, not his absence.
Oh.
Did you never entertain that the presence could have damaged you? Because you've clearly entertained that the absence, you acknowledge that his absence damaged you.
Yes, intellectually, I wrestled with it intellectually that, maybe I was lucky. This is for me, I feel like it's not fair to sons and men to have to go through this whole mental gymnasium of over-rationalizing their father's absence. And now I have to try and figure out like intellectually that, maybe I'm actually should be grateful that he was not there.
Maybe I'm better off.
But it was not his choice.
It was not your choice.
It was not my choice.
He forced that choice onto you.
Yes. Yeah. Whereas no one knows how I would have turned out if he was present. You don't know. Maybe I would have changed the world. Maybe I wouldn't have changed the world. But still, he didn't give me a choice.
And maybe you wouldn't have had this external accolade, right? But you would have had something maybe more internally whole, you think?
Yep. You never know that, because a lot of us are just walking wounded with wounded interiorities. And that's even more dangerous to society, because then it shows up in rage. And it shows up in most people who kill other people, like especially men, they are killed by their friends and acquaintances. And they are either drunk or they are either high, and it's always in rage. Even my own brother was rage when he beat people up and one of the boys died. So our interiorities are broken, that it just shows up in rage, and most of it is rage, and then we are murderous and violent. So I feel like he could have done better. I get his answer now. I'm older. I get it, but I still feel it's unsatisfactory to be irresponsible and then not take individual responsibility and not own it and not apologize and seek restorative justice and rather just say, you should be grateful I didn't raise you.
So would you encourage, because I have friends who've sought their fathers out and were also disappointed.
Yep.
Would you encourage that? And doesn't that do more harm? If he's not there, he's not there.
I've always felt like I have lots of sisters, and I've always said there's a difference between guys and ladies, that the hunger for knowing your father as a lady doesn't seem deep as the hunger and the hole that we carry. Ours is 6 feet deep, if actually beyond the gravesite, our desire to know our father. It feels like for ladies it's there, but it's not as deep. And therefore, I don't know, because I've had that desire to know my father when I was young. And also I think there's a part of me that feels like something's missing. I can't explain it. It's a mystery to me that you can't explain, that something is missing. It's like half of you is missing, and you want this puzzle to be whole. And when you think that if you meet your father, you will become whole, and you will kind of understand yourself better, and you will become even a better man, as illogical as it is. But remember, this is the heart and emotion and a spiritual issue. It's no longer just your IQ or cerebral. It's deeper than that. It's feelings you don't even know where they're coming from. And it's just also because maybe abandonment is trauma and abandonment is a wounding. So you're walking with this wound and you're just looking for medicine. And you think maybe the best medicine is, I need to see this guy so that maybe if I do see him and I speak with him, something will happen and I will heal.
So what do we do, Mzamo? Because we are in this situation in South Africa where there are too many absent dads.
Yeah.
I mean, majority of children in South Africa are raised by single moms.
Yeah.
Number one, how do single moms raise boys better? You argue that they shouldn't be doing it on their own. There should be a father, male presence, male influence. Just expand on that.
My argument on single parenting, as much as people celebrated the outcomes, there's enough global data to prove that kids who are raised by single parents don't have great outcomes versus kids who are raised by both parents. And I don't know proportionally, on average.
On average.
On average. But we are a society that doesn't necessarily want to dance and wrestle with this reality. And that actually it takes a village. Unfortunately, with broken homes and broken communities, and we used to have larger circles to raise kids, and now those circles have become smaller. And my argument is just that if my sister is raising a son alone, I need to be the social father to my sister's son, my nephew. And that my sister needs to know that there is a social father that she can run to. That me and her, we can take up this responsibility of raising this boy so that he becomes a whole boy instead of just only being raised by a woman. Like, for example, my case, my stepfather, as violent and abusive as he was, he saved my life. My biological father abandoned me when I was an adolescent teenager, stepped in my stepfather, and he found out that, oh, this one is selling drugs. And immediately he took me to Boy Scouts. And he took me and made sure I'm an altar boy. Just those two eggs. I'm here today and I'm a doctor because someone, a male figure, intervened.
But as women, we don't trust, we're afraid of men. So how do we allow, if I'm a single mom, how do I allow another man in my son's world, life? Because I love my son. I want to protect him with everything. And these men that we hate, we don't trust.
Yep. And it's
what do we do?
That's why I'm even arguing for cases where let's use technology. In the book I talk about, is there a way we can democratize social fathers the same way we democratize dating apps? People go on dates and they go on dates with strangers that they only looked at a picture and they swipe left or right. And they still go. You go into an Uber and you trust that Uber verified the driver and it's a male, and you still go and you put your whole life in the hands of a stranger on Tinder. But you do it anyway.
Yeah, but there are some bad outcomes.
Yes, but here's the thing then is there a way where we acknowledge that the anxiety and the fear is real? And then can we find ways where we can either use technology to vet men? That's why I want to be able to democratize social fathers and be able to vet men and able to do criminal checks on men and be able to tell you that this man that is in front of you has been vetted and here are the records to show that. But is it 100% foolproof?
Nothing will ever be.
Nothing will ever be. But at least
not even a biological father.
Not even a biological father will be, even an uncle will be ever foolproof. So, but we cannot be defeated. We have to continue to have hope that not all men are malevolent, are evil. Not all. It's impossible. So it is possible that there's over 40% of kids in this country who are raised by men who didn't give birth to them, who are responsible men. They didn't give birth to these kids, but they are raising. And that already tells me that there's like 5 out of 10 men who are willing to do the right thing and raise someone else's child, which is a hard thing for men to do, to raise another person's child they didn't give birth to. So my view is we then need to go back to forming these smaller clubs, smaller communities. Take your child to Boy Scouts. Take your child to football coach. There are places where you can reduce the risk. And you'll never be foolproof, but you can reduce the risk. I mean, the fact that I was taken to Boy Scouts, in Scouts, I had a Scoutmaster who became my role model. And that was all partly I needed. In church, luckily I didn't go to a church where I was molested by a priest. The priest was a role model. So now all of a sudden, my village of male elders or male social fathers expanded by just being taken to a football match or football club, join boxing, join Boy Scouts, become an altar boy. Already I have 4 social fathers. So I think there are ways where mothers can also identify men they like, even at work. And we lower our sometimes pride and ego. And we ask, as I like the man that you are. I have a son. Would you mind mentoring my son? If you want to call it mentoring or coaching, or would you mind to being a social father to my son? The chances 9 out of 10 of that guy saying no are very low, actually, because we all want to be useful and helpful. And we want it not to be seen as trash.
What are you hoping to come out of this book?
What I'm really hoping is that we form a new alliance between men and women, and we make this our problem, and we make this not an either or, and we stop throwing terms at each other and negative terms at each other to checkmate each other to doing nothing. And the second part, I'm hoping that we are able to mature over time to know that we can do both. We can empower girls while making sure boys are not left behind. And both, it's possible. Because my biggest concern is I have 3 daughters. When these 3 daughters are of a time where they want to date, we know from all gender studies, women tend to date or marry horizontal or up. There are very few women who date down on age, on income, and social class and education. Very few, even on height. We've actually studies show that very few women will date a guy who's shorter than them. I mean, and worse on income, and then it's worse on education and social class. So it's either he's horizontal equal or up. Now, we are in a country where over time, if only 44% of boys finish matric, over 66% of graduates are girls. Take that and project it over 20 years and 40 years. Where will our girls, who will they marry? Who will they date if they so decide to be heterosexual? We will create a huge dating gap. Now take those boys, because if you're uneducated, your income earning power declines. So they will earn less anyway, and the woman will earn more. What do you think is going to happen to gender-based violence? More gender-based violence, more rape, more abuse. I don't think we realize that the things that we are not fixing now, in the long run, will create unintended negative consequences. And now we will call it a national crisis. And only then we will have reactive plans to try and solve something that we can start now.
Thank you for writing this book. I hope people who pick it up don't hope to agree with everything that you write. I think disagreeing is important. There's a lot more to the book than just about boys. It's about life, about society, about South Africa. So I hope people do go out there and get it and debate these very, very critical issues that have a bearing on the future of society and of our country.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Appreciate you.